The door to the apartment slammed shut with a finality that echoed through the empty halls of their New York building. Brady stood there, his hands still outstretched as if he could pull Charles back from the night. But the only thing left was the silence and the faint scent of Charles's cologne lingering in the air. How could a single confession turn their world upside down so completely? Just hours earlier, in the dim light of their shared living room, Brady had uttered the words that changed everything. "I think I love both of you," he had said, looking between Charles and Alex with tears in his eyes. The room had frozen, Charles's face twisting in pain and confusion before he grabbed his coat and left without a word. Now, as the city lights twinkled outside the window, Brady realized with a sinking heart that Charles hadn't come back. And by morning, he was gone, vanished from the city that had been their home for years. It all started 2 years ago when Brady met Charles at a networking event for young professionals in Manhattan. Brady, a 28-year-old marketing executive with a sharp mind and an even sharper sense of style, had been drawn to Charles's quiet confidence. Charles, 30, was a rising star in the advertising world, but beneath his professional facade was a man struggling with the expectations of his family back in the Midwest. They bonded over shared experiences of coming out late in life and the constant balancing act of living openly gay in a city that promised freedom but often delivered subtle reminders of prejudice. Their relationship grew slowly, filled with late-night conversations about dreams and fears, weekend getaways to the Hamptons, and the kind of support that made Brady feel seen for the first time. Then Alex entered the picture 6 months ago. The 27-year-old freelance photographer had been hired for a campaign at Brady's firm. With his warm brown eyes, easy laugh, and a way of seeing the world through his lens that made everything seem more beautiful, Alex quickly became more than just a colleague. He joined Brady and Charles for dinners, art gallery openings, and long walks in Central Park. First, it was innocent. Alex shared stories of his own struggles with identity, having grown up in a strict Catholic family in Boston where being gay was never discussed. He understood the internal conflicts, the fear of rejection, the joy of finding someone who got it. Brady found himself looking forward to Alex's texts, the way his presence lightened the room. Charles seemed to feel it too, often inviting Alex over, laughing at his jokes a little too hard. But the feelings deepened. Brady began to notice how Alex's touch on his arm during conversations sent a spark through him, different from the steady warmth he felt with Charles. Charles, meanwhile, started to pull Brady closer in public when Alex was around, as if staking a claim. The three of them spent more time together, and the dynamic shifted into something unspoken. Conversations turned to deeper topics, the pressure from society to fit into neat boxes, the fear of losing oneself in love, the desire for connection without labels. Brady felt torn, his heart expanding in ways he hadn't anticipated. He loved Charles deeply, the man who had been his rock through tough times at work and family issues. Yet Alex brought a sense of adventure and understanding that filled a different void. The tension came to a head on that rainy Thursday. They were all at Brady's apartment after a long day. Wine was poured, and the conversation flowed freely. Alex talked about how rare it was to find people who accepted all parts of you. Brady, emboldened by the alcohol and the closeness, let the words slip out. "I think I love both of you," he said, his voice barely above a whisper. Charles's eyes widened, then narrowed in hurt. Alex looked stunned, his face flushing. The argument that followed was intense, filled with accusations and tears. Charles felt betrayed, questioning if their relationship had been a lie. Alex, caught in the middle, tried to calm them but ended up leaving early. Charles stayed to argue more, but eventually stormed out, saying he needed air. That was the last time Brady saw him. The next day, calls went unanswered. Charles's office said he had taken personal leave. His social media was silent. Brady searched the usual spots, their favorite cafe, the park bench where they first kissed, even Charles's favorite bookstore in Brooklyn. Nothing. With Alex's help, they checked hospitals, police stations, but there was no trace. It was as if Charles had decided to erase himself from the city to escape the pain. Brady spent the next days in a fog, replaying the confession over and over. Was he selfish for admitting his feelings? Had he destroyed the best thing in his life? Alex stayed by his side, offering support, but the guilt weighed heavily on both of them. Brady's family called from Ohio, sensing something was wrong, but he couldn't bring himself to explain the full story. His mother had always been supportive in theory, but the reality of a love triangle would be too much for her to process. Alex's parents in Boston were more open, but even they worried about the emotional toll this was taking. Brady sat alone in the apartment that night, staring at the empty closet where Charles's suits once hung, wondering if love was supposed to hurt this much, or if he had simply broken something that could never be fixed. The city outside hummed with life, but inside, everything felt hollow. Little did Brady know, this disappearance was only the beginning of a journey that would force him and Alex to confront their own truths about identity, loyalty, and what it truly meant to grow beyond the pain. Brady woke to the sound of his phone buzzing on the nightstand, but it was only Alex checking in again. "Any word?" the text read. Brady typed back a quick no and rolled over, staring at the ceiling. The emptiness of the bed beside him felt like a physical ache. He and Charles had shared this apartment for over a year, building a life together with Sunday brunches and quiet evenings planning their future. Now it all seemed like a fragile illusion shattered by one honest moment. Brady dragged himself to the kitchen, brewing coffee out of habit, but the routine felt meaningless without Charles's sarcastic comments about his terrible brewing skills. Alex arrived an hour later, carrying bags from their favorite deli. "You need to eat something," he said softly, setting everything on the counter. They sat at the small table, the same one where the three of them had laughed just days before. Alex's presence was comforting, yet it carried the weight of guilt. "I never meant for this to happen," Alex said, his voice breaking. Brady reached across and squeezed his hand. "None of us did. But here we are." They talked for hours, piecing together the signs they had ignored. Charles had been pulling away for weeks, citing extra work hours, but now it made sense. The way he watched Brady and Alex interact, the forced smiles, the late nights at the office that were probably spent wrestling with his own feelings. As the afternoon wore on, Brady decided to reach out to Charles's colleagues. He called the advertising agency, speaking to Charles's assistant who sounded genuinely concerned. He left a message saying he needed time away for personal reasons. No forwarding address. Brady's stomach dropped. He remembered Charles's stories about his conservative upbringing in Indiana, the way his parents still referred to his roommate instead of acknowledging Brady. Had the confession pushed Charles back into the closet he had fought so hard to escape? Alex suggested they check Charles's storage unit in Queens, a place only the three of them knew about. They drove through the bustling streets, the city feeling both familiar and foreign. At the storage facility, they found the unit half empty. Charles had taken his important documents, some clothes, and the old photo album from their first trip together. But he left behind a small box of mementos, ticket stubs from Broadway shows, a keychain from their weekend in Vermont, and a note scribbled on the back of a receipt. "I need to figure out who I am without this." Brady's eyes filled with tears as he read it. Alex stood beside him, silent for a long moment. "He's hurting, Brady. We all are." They sat on the cold concrete floor, sharing memories that now felt bittersweet. Brady recounted the night he first told Charles he loved him, the way Charles had smiled like the sun rising over the East River. Alex shared how meeting them had given him hope after years of feeling invisible in his own family. Back at the apartment that evening, Brady's phone rang. It was his sister from Ohio, worried after he missed their weekly call. "You sound off, little brother. What's going on with you and Charles?" Brady hesitated, then opened up about the confession, the disappearance, the confusion. His sister listened without judgment, reminding him that love wasn't always simple, especially for gay men navigating a world that still questioned their choices. "You have to give yourself grace," she said. "And Charles needs time." Her words helped, but the void remained. Alex stayed over that night, sleeping on the couch out of respect, but their conversation continued late into the night. They talked about identity, how Brady had always felt pressure to be the perfect gay professional, successful yet not too flamboyant for his conservative colleagues. Alex admitted his own struggles with feeling like an outsider in both straight and gay circles. The bond between them strengthened in the shared pain, but it came with new questions. Was this friendship turning into something more, or was it just the grief pulling them together? The next morning, Brady decided to visit Charles's favorite gallery in Chelsea. The owner recognized him and mentioned seeing Charles a week earlier, looking lost. He bought a painting of an empty road leading out of the city, she said. The clue was small, but it gave Brady a spark of hope. He and Alex spent the afternoon mapping out possible destinations. Upstate New York, maybe Boston where Alex's family lived, or even further west. The search became their new routine, a way to channel the uncertainty into action. Yet with every dead end, the emotional toll grew. Brady found himself questioning his own choices. Had confessing his feelings been an act of courage or selfishness? The city continued its rhythm around them. Taxis honking, people rushing to work. But for Brady and Alex, time had stopped. They were two men left to navigate the aftermath of a love triangle that had exposed the cracks in their identities and forced them to face the hardest truth. Sometimes love meant letting go, even when it broke your heart. Weeks turned into a month, and the initial panic settled into a heavy, persistent ache. Brady threw himself into work at the marketing firm, but his focus wavered during meetings as his mind wandered to Charles. Colleagues noticed the change, offering vague support without knowing the full story. "Rough patch with the boyfriend?" one asked. Brady nodded, keeping the details buried. At home, the apartment felt like a museum of memories. He avoided the bedroom, sleeping on the couch instead, surrounded by half-packed boxes of Charles's things that Alex helped sort. The silence was deafening, broken only by occasional calls from Alex checking in or Brady's family pressing for updates. One evening, Alex arrived with takeout and a plan. "We need to talk to someone who might know more," he said. They decided to reach out to Charles's best friend from college, a woman named Sarah who lived in Brooklyn. Over coffee at a small cafe near the Brooklyn Bridge, Sarah revealed what she knew. "Charles called me the night he left. He was devastated, Brady. He said he felt like he was losing both of you and himself in the process. He mentioned needing space to figure out his place in all this." Her words stung, but they also provided clarity. Charles had always carried the weight of being the steady one, the provider, the one who never showed weakness. The confession had stripped that away, leaving him vulnerable in ways he wasn't prepared for. Brady's internal conflict deepened during the following days. He spent hours walking the streets of Manhattan, replaying every moment of the triangle. The jealousy he felt when Charles and Alex bonded over art exhibits. The excitement when Alex shared his photography portfolio. The guilt that followed every shared laugh. Society's expectations didn't help. The subtle stares when the three of them went out together. The assumptions from friends who didn't understand how love could be complicated for gay men. Brady's own identity felt fractured. He had come out years ago, proud and defiant, but this situation made him question if he was truly ready for the messiness of real emotions beyond the neat narrative of monogamy. Alex was struggling too. One night, as they sat on Brady's balcony overlooking the glowing skyline, Alex opened up about his family. "My parents still pray for me to change," he said quietly. "When I told them about you and Charles, they said it was too much drama for one person. Maybe they're right." Brady listened, offering comfort without pushing. Their friendship had evolved into something deeper, a quiet understanding born from shared loss. But neither dared to name it yet. The misunderstandings piled up. Brady accused Alex of moving on too quickly in one heated argument, only to apologize later when he saw the hurt in Alex's eyes. Alex, in turn, worried that Brady was only keeping him around because of the guilt over Charles. Family pressures mounted when Brady's parents visited from Ohio. His mother hugged him tightly at the airport, sensing the strain. Over dinner at a quiet Italian restaurant, Brady finally told them the truth. The love triangle, the confession, the disappearance. His father, a traditional man who had slowly accepted his son's orientation, frowned. "Son, life isn't a movie. You can't love two people and expect it to work without someone getting hurt." His mother's eyes filled with tears. "We just want you happy, Brady. But running from the pain won't fix it." Their words echoed in Brady's mind as he drove them back to their hotel. He realized how much he had internalized the idea that gay relationships had to be perfect to prove they were valid. This crisis was forcing him to confront that illusion. The search continued with small leads. A credit card transaction showed Charles had bought a bus ticket to upstate New York. Brady and Alex drove there on a weekend, checking small towns and motels. They found nothing, but the trip brought them closer. In a roadside diner, they talked about sacrifice. "Maybe Charles is doing this for us," Alex suggested, "giving us space to figure things out." Brady shook his head. "Or he's punishing himself." The drive back was quiet, the city lights welcoming them home like an old friend. Back in Manhattan, Brady started therapy, recommended by a coworker who had gone through a similar breakup. The sessions peeled back layers of his identity crisis, the fear of not being enough for anyone, the pressure to choose one path when his heart wanted more. Alex joined him for one session, and together they began to understand the root of their misunderstandings. As the second month passed, the emotional toll showed in small ways. Brady lost weight, his once sharp suits hanging looser. Alex's photography took on a darker tone, capturing lonely streets and empty benches. Yet through it all, a quiet strength emerged. They supported each other at work events, attended pride events together as friends, and slowly rebuilt a routine. The city, with its endless energy, became a backdrop for their growth. Brady started volunteering at an LGBT youth center, helping young men navigate their own coming-out stories. It gave him purpose amid the uncertainty. Alex landed a big gallery show, channeling his emotions into art that spoke of love's complexities. Their bond deepened without crossing lines, a testament to the friendship that had survived the triangle. But the question lingered. Would Charles ever return? Or had his disappearance become the catalyst for all of them to become better versions of themselves? The rising tension in their hearts suggested the answer was still unfolding. The gallery opening for Alex's new exhibit drew a crowd of artists and friends from the city's creative scene. Brady stood in the corner, nursing a glass of wine, watching Alex explain his photographs to guests. The images captured moments of quiet longing. Empty subway platforms, hands reaching but not touching, cityscapes blurred by rain. Each piece felt like a mirror to their shared pain. "This series is about letting go," Alex told a reporter, his voice steady but his eyes finding Brady's across the room. The words hit hard. Brady wondered if he was ready to let go of the hope that Charles would walk through the door any day. Later that night, after the crowd thinned, Alex and Brady walked along the High Line. The elevated park was peaceful under the stars, the Hudson River sparkling below. "I think Charles would like these photos," Brady said softly. Alex nodded. "He always understood the unspoken parts of us." Their conversation turned to the betrayals they had felt. Brady admitted he had been jealous of the easy connection between Charles and Alex. Alex confessed he had pulled away at times because he didn't want to come between them. The misunderstandings had built like walls, each small slight adding up until the confession shattered everything. "We were all trying to protect what we had," Alex said. But protection turned into silence. Back at the apartment, Brady received a letter in the mail. No return address, postmarked from a small town in Vermont. Inside was a short note from Charles. "I'm safe. I needed to breathe. Don't wait for me. Find your own peace." Brady's hands shook as he read it aloud to Alex. Relief washed over them, but so did fresh pain. Charles was alive and somewhere close enough to mail a letter, yet he chose distance. The sacrifice felt both generous and cruel. Brady's family called again, his mother urging him to move on. "You can't live in limbo forever," she said. His father added, "Sometimes walking away is the bravest thing a man can do." The words echoed the themes in Alex's exhibit, forcing Brady to confront his own growth. The weeks that followed brought new challenges. Brady faced pressure at work when a promotion came up, but his distracted state made him question if he was ready. Colleagues whispered about his changed demeanor, and one even asked if everything was okay with the guy. Brady realized how much he had hidden his true self to fit in. Therapy sessions delved deeper into identity, exploring how being gay in a straight-dominated world had shaped his fear of vulnerability. Alex dealt with his own family crisis when his parents visited New York and learned about the situation. "This is why we worried," his mother said. The conversation ended in tears, but Alex stood firm, defending the love he had shared and the growth he was finding. Together, Brady and Alex attended a support group for LGBT men navigating complicated relationships. The stories they heard, of betrayals, sacrifices, and eventual awakening, mirrored their own. One man shared how disappearing for a year helped him rebuild his life. Another spoke of choosing honesty even when it hurt. These meetings became a lifeline, helping them process the emotional consequences of their choices. Brady began journaling, writing letters to Charles that he never sent, exploring his feelings without judgment. Alex threw himself into new projects, photographing the city's hidden corners as a way to heal. Yet the tension rose when a mutual friend spotted Charles in a cafe upstate. Brady wanted to drive there immediately, but Alex hesitated. What if he doesn't want to be found? The argument that followed was raw, filled with the same misunderstandings that started it all. Brady accused Alex of giving up too easily. Alex countered that pushing too hard might cause more pain. In the end, they compromised and sent a single message through the friend. "We miss you. Whenever you're ready." No reply came. The silence taught them about acceptance, the kind that comes from understanding that love sometimes means releasing control. As autumn painted the city in golden hues, Brady noticed changes in himself. He was more patient at work, more open with his family. His sister visited and remarked how much stronger he seemed. "This whole thing forced you to grow up, didn't it?" she teased. Alex's exhibit received positive reviews, and he credited the experience for deepening his art. Their friendship evolved into a quiet partnership, supporting each other's dreams without the weight of the past. But the disappearance still haunted them, a reminder of the choices that defined their paths. The city continued its endless pace, but for Brady and Alex, it had become a place of reflection and quiet strength. They were learning that personal growth often came from the hardest losses, and that true loyalty meant honoring the space someone needed, even when it broke your heart. The climax of their journey was approaching, and with it, the realization that some endings were beginnings in disguise. Winter arrived with its usual bite, blanketing New York in snow that muffled the city's constant noise. Brady stood at his office window, watching flakes swirl past, thinking about how the seasons had passed since Charles vanished. 5 months now, and the sharp pain had dulled to a persistent ache that surfaced in quiet moments. He and Alex had settled into a rhythm of friendship and support, meeting for coffee after work and sharing updates on their searches. The letter from Vermont had been followed by another from a small town in Massachusetts, each one shorter than the last, each one reinforcing Charles's need for distance. "I'm finding parts of myself I lost," the latest read. Brady folded it carefully, placing it with the others in a drawer. Alex's gallery show had closed, but the success opened new doors. He landed a commission for a magazine spread on urban loneliness, and Brady helped with the concepts during long evenings at the apartment. Their conversations grew deeper, touching on the societal pressures that had shaped their choices. "Being gay means proving you're worthy every day," Alex said one night. "We internalize that until it affects how we love." Brady nodded, recalling his own struggles with family expectations. His parents had visited again over Thanksgiving, bringing homemade pies and cautious questions. "Have you heard from him?" his mother asked gently. Brady shook his head. His father offered advice from his own life. "Sometimes a man has to walk away to become who he's meant to be." The words lingered, helping Brady accept that Charles's disappearance might have been an act of love, not rejection. The turning point came during a snowstorm when Brady received a call from an unknown number. It was Charles. His voice was tired but clear. "I needed time to breathe, Brady. The triangle broke something in me, but it also showed me I was hiding from my own feelings." They talked for an hour, Charles explaining the internal crisis, the jealousy, the fear of not being enough, the pressure to be the stable one in their relationship. He had driven north, staying in small inns, working odd jobs to clear his head. "I realized I was running from myself more than from you too," he said. Brady listened, tears falling as he heard the growth in Charles's words. The call ended with a promise to meet when Charles was ready. No pressure. Alex was supportive when Brady shared the news. "This is good," he said, "for all of us." But the conversation opened old wounds. They spent the evening discussing the betrayals and sacrifices. Brady admitted the guilt that had kept him awake for months. Alex shared his own identity struggles, how the experience had made him stronger in facing his family. They decided to honor Charles's journey by focusing on their own. Brady started a new project at work mentoring young LGBT professionals, channeling his pain into helping others avoid the isolation he had felt. Alex's photography shifted to themes of resilience, capturing men rebuilding after loss. Family dynamics shifted too. Charles's parents reached out after learning the truth from Sarah. His mother apologized for the years of distance, promising to do better. The conversation was emotional, highlighting how societal judgment had affected them all. Brady's own family grew closer, his sister visiting more often and sharing stories of her friends in similar situations. The support network reminded Brady that he wasn't alone in his growth. As the snow melted into spring, the three men arranged a meeting in Central Park. Charles looked different, thinner, but with a new light in his eyes. They sat on a bench, the same one from their early days, and talked without accusations. Charles explained the decision to disappear. It was his way of forcing clarity, sacrificing the comfort of their triangle to find his own path. Brady and Alex shared their journeys, the misunderstandings that had nearly broken them, the awakening that came from the pain. No one asked for immediate answers. The conversation was about forgiveness and moving forward, each man choosing growth over resentment. The meeting ended with hugs and promises to stay in touch. Charles returned to the city slowly, finding a new apartment and job. The love triangle had transformed into something healthier. Three men who understood each other's hearts better. Brady and Alex's bond remained strong, evolving into a deep friendship that respected the space Charles needed. The experience taught them about the consequences of honesty and the power of choice. Brady felt lighter, his identity no longer defined by fear but by resilience. The city, once a backdrop for loss, now symbolized renewal. Spring bloomed fully across New York, cherry blossoms lining the streets as Brady walked to meet Alex and Charles for their first group dinner in months. The three men had stayed in touch through careful texts and occasional calls, giving each other the room to heal. Charles had settled into his new routine, working at a small advertising firm uptown and volunteering at the same LGBT center where Brady mentored. His disappearance had been the catalyst for real change. He had confronted his family fully, coming out in a way that left no room for denial. "I realized hiding was the real betrayal," Charles told Brady during one late-night conversation. The growth was visible in his posture, his smile, the way he spoke about the future without the old shadows. At the restaurant overlooking the East River, the atmosphere was warm but tentative. They ordered their favorite dishes, laughing about old memories while carefully avoiding the pain. Alex shared updates on his latest photography series, now featured in a national magazine. "The theme is awakening," he said, glancing at both men. Brady talked about his promotion at work, earned not despite the crisis but because of the strength it built in him. Charles listened, nodding with understanding. The conversation turned to the sacrifices each had made. Charles leaving the city, Brady facing family scrutiny, Alex navigating his own identity in the aftermath. No one blamed the other. Instead, they acknowledged how the triangle had exposed truths they needed to hear. Later, walking along the riverfront, the three men stopped at a bench. Charles spoke first. "Disappearing was my way of choosing myself. It hurt you both, and I'm sorry, but it saved me." Brady replied, "It forced us all to grow. I learned that love isn't about possession." Alex added, "And that honesty, even when it shatters things, can rebuild them stronger." The moment was peaceful, a full circle from the rainy night that started it all. They parted with hugs, promising to support each other's paths without expectations. Charles returned to his new life, Brady and Alex to theirs. The bond between all three forever changed but intact. Months later, Brady sat in his apartment, now rearranged with new art from Alex and a plant Charles had sent as a peace offering. He reflected on the journey, the internal conflicts, the societal pressures, the misunderstandings that nearly destroyed them, and the decisions that led to awakening. His family was more involved, his work fulfilling, his heart at peace. Alex had become a close friend and occasional collaborator, their connection deeper for having survived the storm. Charles thrived independently, occasionally joining them for coffee. The love triangle had not ended in bitterness but in three stronger men who understood the value of choice and consequence. Brady looked out at the city skyline, the place that had witnessed their pain and growth. He realized how far they had come from that shocking confession and the unexpected disappearance that followed. The experience had taught them that personal growth often required letting go, facing fears, and choosing honesty even when it hurt. As the sun set over Manhattan, Brady felt grateful for the path that had led them here. True love, it turned out, was not about keeping everything the same but about allowing each person to become who they were meant to be. True or false? Sometimes the most loving choice a man can make in a complicated relationship is to disappear completely and let the others find their own path forward.